step in making cob is to screen the soil. This may be a little bit wet still, but since I only need to do a small batch just for the door this time, it probably won't be a huge problem. I usually do 2 5-gallon buckets at a time because that's about as much soil as I can handle in one batch on the tarp. So let's get started. This is just 1/4-inch hardware cloth on just a wood frame. And then I have this piece here that came with our water barrels, and it kind of works as like a funnel. So I get more surface area. And then that sits right on there. So I don't know how well this is gonna sift, but we'll give it a try. Oh, it's not too bad. So there's kind of like a happy medium with sifting soil. If it's too dry, it's really hard and it destroys your screen faster. If it's too wet, the clay sticks in clumps and it doesn't want to go through. But so all these little rocks go on the driveway. And I just kind of push this. It's got to compensate for the slope there. So, this I did try once because it was really wet and I was working on the oven base and it really wasn't that important. So I thought I could just not sift it. And I was super sorry afterwards because the little rocks in here are like crushed up, decomposed granite. And so leaving those little rocks in after I mixed it with on my tarp with my feet, it sliced my toes really bad. So I had like little razor slices on my toes for a while, and that was not nice. So I do not make cob out of unsifted soil anymore. Lesson learned, right? So these screens wear out, so I do have to, the welds break eventually when you're pushing rocks around on them, and so this is a little wetter than that first scoop was. And you really do want to like work it because the pieces that have the best clay, and that's what you want, are often the hardest ones to like push through the screen. So if you just do it real gentle, then you're losing out on the really sticky clay, which is what gives the cob its structure. So I think won't put as much on this time since it's wetter. And this is just straight subsoil. So I'm super lucky because our subsoil works for cob without having to add really much of anything. So that is not the case always. Sometimes people have to add sand. Sometimes people have to add clay. And really, the only way to know is to just take your soil as is, mix it up, screen it out, mix it up, and try it. Because even just doing, a lot of natural builders will recommend doing a shake test where you put your soil in like a mason jar and add water, and then you shake it up, and then you let it settle. And so the sand will settle down right away, and then the silt will settle down later, and then the clay, because it's the smallest particles, settles down last. And that kind of tells you like proportions, which can be maybe sort of helpful, but there are so many different kinds of clay, and they have different properties and different stickiness. So even though you maybe know the proportions, you still don't really know the properties of your clay until you just try it. So for me, since I'm kind of a shoot from the hip sort of builder, I just started making cob and putting it on things and seeing what happened. Oh, we almost got it. I probably don't need a whole bucket for this particular project, but it'll work. One more scoop. So playing in the dirt, I love it. I love building with dirt. It's very tactile. It's mostly freeform. You can measure, but it really doesn't do any good because natural materials do not square up very well. They don't behave the same well as manufactured materials. They're just kind of their own thing, so you get what you get. Okay, so we're done with that. I do not pick these buckets up. I do everything on this because then I don't have to bend down too far, and it saves my back. So, because I can just roll this up the hill where I'm going and go to mix it. Well, we had some bad weather, so it's been a few days since I sifted this, but let's mix up some cob and make the oven door. Like I said before, I do everything I can not to actually have to pick these buckets up because they are very heavy and it's just too hard on my back. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do is just kind of make a well in this. Now this is a lot smaller batch than I usually do, so hopefully I don't overwater it because and I've had some people tell me that they use a cement mixer to do this. I don't know. Well, first of all, I don't like loud machines, so I don't think I would care for that all that much. But the other thing is I do it by feel. So like you can feel how it I don't know, how it gets like malleable. So that's how you know it's ready. So this feels like really crumbly. Leaves. Leaves won't hurt anything, but although this is for my oven door, so yeah. Now that I've got it kind of mostly moistened, and this tarp has mixed so many batches, keep waiting for it to fall apart. Okay, so I use this, and it's just like a mulch stuff for grass seed. It's been chopped up for most of my cob because you can use the longer stuff for some things, but if I'm doing plaster or like with this oven, the chopped straw is a lot better. Might have to add just a touch more water. It's better to add water than to have too much because it's the opposite of pie crust. I don't know, maybe it's not. Maybe it's like pie crust. I'm gonna add just a tad, just a little smidge. Yeah. I'm gonna put some more straw in. So you're gonna do a lot of this. It really dries out your skin. So I found that like working hands or working feet stuff, I think it's O'Keefe, really helps because your hands and feet will start to crack because the clay just draws oil. So we're getting there. Yes. It's a good time to have some dancing music. I'm gonna add a touch more straw. The straw keeps it from cracking. So, and then I'm actually mixing this a little drier than I would for plaster because I don't want it to crack on the door. So this little batch takes just as long to mix as the big ones do. Yes. Okay, here is what the finished cob looks like. Pretty moldable. So the next step is to put it on the framework that I made for the oven door.